Hello YouTube and welcome to Arrow episode 6 review titled Guilty. This was a very good episode as it was very Ted Grant centered. It very much focused on the character of Ted Grant. We've seen him a couple times so far in the season, but we really got to dig deep into the past of his character. We got to see more of his Wildcat persona. We'll get more of that in a little bit. Now let's go to the top 5. Number 5 thing would be something that's involved in the flashbacks that is then brought into the present. The best example I have of this, of something from the flashbacks that is shown again in the present day in this episode, is in season 1, when Yao Feng, that's his name. It was like 1 or 2 reviews ago, I couldn't remember his name. Yao Feng fights the Billy Wintergreen Deathstroke in like episode 3 or something like that. It's the episode where Oliver's under house arrest, and Yao Feng does this trick where he like wraps his legs around Deathstroke's arms and flips him over, and then there's a fight scene in the present day in the Queen Mansion where Oliver does that to someone who's breaking in. This time it's something from the character that's going to become Katana in the past, or in some time era. I don't know when she's going to become Katana. But she does this meditation trick with Oliver to help him, being Oliver, remember where a dead drop position was. Sorry about that. I had to move forward a little bit. And he does this to help Roy remember things in the past, which I'll get into a little bit later. Number 4 would be relating to next week's episode, more so. I think it's called Don't Drop Your Bow or Don't Pick Up something begins with don't and ends in bow, and there's like 2 words in the middle, I'm not sure. But at the end of the episode, the villain of the episode is being taken outside back of GCPD. I'm assuming to be transferred to Iron Heights or something like that. And these 2 guys get shot with arrows, and then the villain gets shot with an arrow. And he asks who this person is, and she goes, "I'm Cupid, silly," and shoots him. And she has like this red bow, red hair, and we know from like the promo that she is a fan of Arrow. Like she's obsessed with Arrow. So we'll see that play out more so next episode. It'd be interesting to see we have another Archer. The show is not oversaturated with Archers. I always love seeing new Archers and their different personalities and how Oliver deals with them. We have, of course, Arrow, the main character. We have, but the villain Archers, we have Merlin. We also have Yao Feng, who is an Archer from the island. He wasn't a bad guy, but still. So we have Arrow, we have Merlin, we have Yao Feng, we have Komodo, we have Nissa, and now we have Cupid. There's 6 Archers in the show, of which only 5 are still alive because Yao Feng got shot in the head by fires. Moment of silence for Yao Feng. And we're moving on. Number 3, the Wildcat nickname and persona and whatnot is explain everything about Ted Grant. Basically, is my number 3 thing. We do see that 5 years ago, from the present day of the episode of this season, so which would be 2 or 3 years, in Oliver's 3rd year away from Starling City, is when Ted Grant became this boxing character called Wildcat. In the comics, Wildcat is a vigilante in the present day, and based on what I'm seeing so far from this episode, Wildcat will be making a return as a vigilante. But pretty much he is known for training pretty much the entire Justice League how to fight. Like actual fight, other than just using your powers. Of course, you don't have to train like Bruce Wayne or people that already know how to fight, but people like Green Arrow or other people that, I don't know if he trained Green Arrow, people that needed to learn how to fight, he taught them how to fight, like how Ted Grant is training Laurel in the show. And he did have an apprentice who ends up, his apprentice killed someone. He took the blame for it, although he does get away. He isn't arrested or anything, but he stops being a Wildcat after this guy was killed. And they end up capturing his apprentice and torturing him, and now his apprentice is back, taking up the persona of Wildcat, being this more of a villainous Wildcat, and that's the premise of the episode, basically. But now we get to see more development of Ted Grant and whatnot, so we'll get to see, we've seen his character progress a lot this episode, and we'll get to see it progress more as the season moves on. Number 2 is Roy's progression. The biggest thing for me in this episode. It was not really his progression on whether or not he killed Sarah, but he gets the nickname Arsenal, which is really cool. The apprentice, Ted's apprentice, comes face to face with Roy, and he says, "You're just an arsenal in Arrow's toolbox." And Roy ends up telling Oliver that when they're in the Arrow cave, and Oliver kind of jokingly says, "Maybe that's what we should call you then." So, yeah, it's kind of a joke, but that is now going to be, I guess, his staple nickname, his staple vigilante name, Arsenal. That'd be cool. But we did get a lot of development on whether or not Roy killed Sarah, and it is revealed that it was a Mirakuru, like little tiny specks of Mirakuru, an outbreak, and he killed Sarah, and that's why he couldn't remember it, because it causes memory loss. You don't really remember what happened when you're in a Mirakuru episode. Now, back to the memory trick. Oliver helps Roy remember what happened the night of, like, the invasion and whatnot. He killed the police officer. And Roy gets really upset that Oliver didn't tell him that he's a murderer and whatnot. And it is revealed a little bit that he may or may not have killed Sarah. That his past memory from killing that police officer may just be resurfacing from seeing Sarah being killed with arrows, like how he stabbed the guy with arrows. But there is evidence that from a autopsy that was not a real autopsy, it was like a technical autopsy, that she found that someone with the strength from Mirakuru throwing the arrows like Roy did in his little in his dream would be conclusive that Roy did it. In his height and the angle which the arrows hit, it would show that Roy did do it from Mirakuru outbreak. However, there was no Mirakuru in his blood because Roy had Felicity run a blood test. But Felicity then speculates that maybe that the last outbreak kind of flushed out the rest of that Mirakuru in his blood. So it is a little bit tied up, that loose end was tied up a little bit, but there's still some exploration whether or not for certain Roy did kill Sarah. So that will probably be explored the rest of the season. Now Laura was just beyond pissed because she was going out revenge for Sarah's killer, and revealed that Sarah's killer is on Team Arrow possibly. So that's something that she's really going to be struggling with. Roy's going to be struggling with becoming, now knowing that he's just a murderer, that he killed the cop, may have killed Sarah. So that's going to be something difficult. And then my number one thing is probably the smallest thing on the list, but it was really cool. A couple weeks ago, Stephen Amell, the person who plays Oliver Queen in Arrow, he hinted that the directors and whatnot may have found a way to make a boxing glove arrow. Now, it was shown this episode. It wasn't an actual trick arrow where Oliver pulled an arrow out of his quiver and it already had a boxing glove. What happened was he took the arrow out of his quiver and like he dodge rolled, kind of like that's where I got that idea. He kind of rolled it on the ground and stabbed the arrow inside the boxing glove, and it stuck, and he shot it and hit the guy in the face with the boxing glove on the end of his arrow when he shot it. So that was kind of Arrow's way of making the boxing glove. It was really funny to see. When I saw it, I had to pause because I was watching it on the CW TV Now, because I don't have a class when the show's on this semester. So I was watching it. I had to pause the episode, one, so I could write it down on my notes, but two, because I was laughing so hard that I couldn't watch and pay attention to the show because I was laughing so hard. But that's how they did the boxing glove arrow. It was so funny. It was so neat and intuitive. But yeah, that's it for this episode. That is it for the episode Guilty. I'm going to give this one a solid 4. It was a good episode, really delved deep into Ted Grant. It made the promise with Green Arrow's famous boxing glove arrow, and it explored more of Roy's involvement with Sarah. So I'm giving this episode a 4. But until next time, I've been Epic Gamer. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and share the video. And until next time, God bless. See you then.